Let's go with Stan and Neil.
What's up? Welcome into the latest edition of the Stan and Neil Show. We are live here on Twitch for episode 29. Don't forget, in addition to catching us live here on Twitch, you can also catch the show on YouTube at your leisure or anywhere you get your podcasts. Neil, what's going on? How you doing, man?
Man, you know that Stan and Neil jingle. It's got a good groove to it. Coach D did all right for it. Stan, I got a lot going on. So I flew back. I flew to Portland yesterday.
Yep.
Last night I emceed basically where the Oregon football coaches reveal all the recruits, and they also had a bunch of the returning players, including Dante Moore.
Okay. Yep.
And I did, it was at Tiger Woods Center. On the Nike campus, where
I've been there
18 years ago. Yeah, where 18 years ago on September 18th, I met the woman who would become my wife. So it's always nice to go back to that room. And I shared that story and said, that has nothing to do with football. It's a love story, but we love our Oregon Ducks. I hung out with Coach Lanning a little bit. What a guy he is. Met the new offensive and defensive coordinators. Had a great time. Went to the library afterwards. Read a few books with some of the fellas, and then this morning got on a flight. And who's sitting right in front of me? The great Carmelo Anthony.
All right.
Former Blazer great, and is he in the Hall of Fame already, or is he a future Hall of Famer? I forgot to look it up.
I think he's in already.
Yeah, well, he's going to be.
I'll do a quick check here. Quick check.
Yeah. But, he's a big man. You don't realize how big that dude is till you get next to him. Yeah, 6'8", and he's thick. And not thick, I haven't been playing thick, just big bone, man. He is a dude.
That's why
he said he watched.
Yeah, last year, 2025, just last year.
All right.
Hall of Fame.
I should have known that. But anyhow, I'm just so uncomfortable to start asking him questions about, the one question I wish I'd asked him.
Yeah. What?
Who do you got in the Super Bowl? Who do you got in the Super Bowl? Because here's the thing, today was the end of the trade deadline, which is what we'll start the show with.
Yeah.
And a reminder, everybody, we're having a Super Bowl poll. So get on that Super Bowl poll. First time chatter, Big West 23. Yeah, Big West, do it. But, it was funny because I was sitting in 2C, so that was second row window.
Okay.
He was sitting in 1B, so I had this diagonal on him, and so I could see his television. Now, what I was watching was NBA Today because it was like there was 90 minutes left before the trade deadline ended.
Okay. And I'm gonna take a guess on what he was watching.
He was
Bloomberg.
No, but I think he was
CNBC?
reading financials.
He was
watching. He was watching Olympic skiing or the Olympic snowboarding.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
He's with Peacock, right? He may be involved in the Winter Olympics. Maybe. Who knows?
Oh, well, that's right. Because he was up in Portland because Portland did a game on Peacock the other night against Phoenix.
Okay.
So he was up there. I remember seeing him on at the Moda Center on the court while I was watching that game. But anyhow, nice guy. Acted like he knew who I was. So that's always nice. Yeah. I told him that the Blazers had reactivated him. We needed him to come shoot the three. He said they'd be all right. So, but anyhow, it was while I was sitting there, and we want to tell everybody not only vote in the poll, but hey, join us, subscribe right now. We got levels. Any of the levels you join, we'll be happy to have you. So watching that NBA Today, that's where I found out Zubac got traded. That shocked me more than Harden. It looks like a complete, retool or rebuild. Kawhi is the last man standing. I know you're as close to the program as anybody. And what's going on there? What's your thoughts?
So once they traded James Harden, it was clear that they wanted to get younger. They wanted to get more athletic to play at the pace of the current NBA. it looked like the plan in the beginning of the season was field a veteran team, get to the playoffs where the half-court game is more important than ever, and then you have two of the best ISO players in the NBA in James Harden and Kawhi Leonard. You have a guy who could score with Bradley Beal. You've got a great low post threat and a great two-man option in the pick and roll game with Zubac and Harden. And then you got, Derek Jones Jr., John Collins, Chris Dunn, as role players. But then the injuries started happening, and Bradley Beal's out for the season. And Derek Jones Jr. has been in and out of the lineup. And so Harden and Kawhi Leonard have had to carry the bulk of the load for the entire season. And it was a disaster at first, 6-21. And then they were able to rally behind those two guys and some of the young guys who got pressed into action. Kobe Sanders and Jordan Miller got pressed into action and were counted on to contribute, I think, more and more quickly than the Clippers had anticipated. But they settled into their roles, and they really did a great job, the coaching staff and those players, to climb out of that hole 17-4 run to climb back into play-in contention in the Western Conference. But if you look at that game last night, they played Cleveland last night, and Cleveland was clearly quicker than they were, played at a faster pace than they did. And so now you look at what they turned Harden and Zubac into are Darius Garland, who's a two-time All-Star, who's 26. Ty Lue says that he plans to utilize Garland the same way that he utilized Kyrie Irving when he was in Cleveland. And so now you add Mathurin, who is a scorer at 6'5", and now you have great backcourt that can play with pace. I mean, Garland can get up and down the court like nobody's business. So you can play with pace. You keep Kawhi Leonard, who's still your half-court, late shot clock ISO solution. And they got to figure things out at center. They got a young kid, Yannick Niederhaus, who's shown a lot of promise. He's athletic and long. Still have Brook Lopez. They got Isaiah Jackson from Indiana in the trade with Mathurin for Zubac. So they've gotten younger, more athletic. They can play with a different pace. And look, they say, this is not just future-oriented. Once we get Garland back on the floor, he's out with a toe injury right now. Once we get Garland back on the floor, and, we didn't know about Mathurin last night when Tyler was talking about this, but now they've added Mathurin as well. They're like, hey, this is a this season move and a future move. So it'll be really interesting to see how the coaching staff approaches this now with what is a totally different attack now with these guys, because they can run and play at a better pace. And look, that's what the NBA is now. I'll be interested to see how the playoffs go this year with the pace that all these teams are playing at, because, everybody gets back on defense in the playoffs, and you're playing the same team over and over and over again, so you get a feel for what the matchups look like. But the pace of today's NBA, they had to get younger, they had to get more athletic, and they did it. So Lawrence Frank, the front office, did a great job in doing that. Look, James Harden, whatever you think you know about James Harden, particularly if it's negative, you're wrong. Seeing him up close, seeing the work that he put in with his team, seeing how he was available every single night, how he led when things were going really, really poorly. He led, is almost always the last guy getting up shots after practice, after shoot-arounds. I mean, what you think you know about James Harden is wrong, because that guy works hard, he leads, he scores, he facilitates for other players. He does whatever his team needs him to do, and that's all you can ask of him. So I am watching James Harden leave with a totally newfound respect for James Harden, having seen him up close.
Well, don't you think the question is, Stan, regular season James Harden hasn't been the question. It's playoff James Harden that's the question.
Right. But what I don't understand about that is people somehow think he becomes a different person in the playoffs. Or I mean, look, I remember people saying Alex Rodriguez never delivers in the playoffs until he did. I remember people saying Barry Bonds never gets it done in the playoffs until he did. And I think Cleveland is going to be the beneficiary of that because I think he's aware of that narrative. Okay, but playing with Donovan Mitchell, that's going to be a handful to deal with, those two guys in that backcourt. And I think Cleveland, if they weren't already the favorites in the East, I think they zoom past the Knicks now as the unquestioned favorite in the East because Harden, you got to double team him. And then you look at what Donovan Mitchell can do if you double team him. And then you look at what Joel Embiid was the MVP in Philly playing with James Harden because of the way James Harden was able to set him up in the two-man game. Ivica Zubac last year had a career year playing with James Harden because of the way he could set him up in the two-man game. So I think the Evan Mobley is going to benefit from that. Jared Allen's going to benefit from that in Cleveland. And I think the Cavaliers, it's going to be them against OKC or San Antonio, whoever's coming out of the West. I really believe that Cleveland took the next step getting James Harden.
Yeah, and Donovan Mitchell really needed the help. I mean, he's averaging 34 minutes a game. If he goes down, the Cavs were going to implode. They needed to do something. They were in the middle of the pack in the East. A healthy Harden, as you said, he's playing some of his best basketball that he's played since he was the MVP. And remember, Mitchell went down in the playoffs last season, shot 25% from three, and all of a sudden it was the Pacers advancing and the Cavaliers going home to get it done. So,
and one more thing, Neil. James Harden provides an upgrade on defense for the Cavaliers because Garland's
I don't think
6'3".
people realize how big James Harden is, man.
Absolutely.
He's a big man.
He's 6'5" and he's sturdy. And he's there every night. He rarely misses games. Sturdy.
Great. That's nice.
That's what we're calling it.
I was going with thick, but sturdy's better. Yeah. Yeah, I was looking at some analytical numbers because that's what everybody goes for. They said, if Garland returns to form, then they think the Clippers win that trade just based on the youth of the two. But, if the Cavaliers end up playing for the title this year with Harden, then clearly Cleveland has won the trade. I think the big if for the Clippers is, you heard of guys with foot injuries who never get right. And Garland has tried to come back. He's had surgery on the foot and just hasn't been able to come back the way he's hoping for. So hopefully he comes back so the Clippers, can maximize his value.
Analytics, they want threes, layups, free throws, okay? James Harden's game is get the ball top of the key. Size it up, dribble, size it up. Defender leans forward, he's going by him, okay? He's either going to get a layup at the rim, get fouled, or kick it to somebody for an open shot when the rotation comes, okay? If the guy leans back off of him, step back three, okay? So what are you getting there? You're getting threes, layups, and free throws from James Harden offensively, and that's what everybody wants now.
Yeah. All right, let's move on here. I forgot to tell Jeff, and I'm telling our audience right now, I've got a hard out at 5 because Pickle's got a vet appointment. And
and we don't play about Pickle.
No, Pickle, there's no wiggle room, man. It's 5 o'clock. Okay. I might be in mid-sentence, and I'm just going to pull the plug. All right. Let's talk about the Celtics. They needed a big man. Garza and Queta weren't the answer. Is it Vucevic or Vucevic, or is it either or? I can never remember with Vucevic.
Vucevic.
I don't think he was the first choice or the second choice, but Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype said Boston offered Simons and a first-round pick and a future first-round pick to the Clippers.
Right. They wanted Zubac. Everybody thought it might be Simons coming instead of Mathurin, but they got Mathurin instead.
Yeah. Yeah, well, Mathurin's a bigger body, probably more upside than Simons, who's got a lot of miles on him, having, entered the league at a young age and played all those years at Portland. He can shoot. When he's hot, he's a monster. Well, he's a monster, but he doesn't add a lot defensively. They also asked about Jaren Jackson, who ended up in Utah. So he was the 8-player trade there. I don't think anybody saw him going to Utah. It sounds like Utah has kind of pulled the plug on. Okay, we're not rebuilding. We're kind of just we're resetting because I think last year was the year that they had the worst record. Thought they were going to get Cooper Flagg and the dominoes didn't fall their way, and I think they ended up picking 5th and got Ace Bailey, who's still trying to find his footing.
I mean, think about this, though. You got a front line now of Walker Kessler, Jaren Jackson, and Lauri Markkanen. I mean, they are super long. I mean, they're longer than the line at the DMV now, you know? And then you got Ace Bailey, who, you know, I think he's a talent. Keyshawn. I'm sorry. I'm thinking about Keyshawn George. Keontae George.
Keyshawn George plays for the Wizards.
For Washington, right. Keontae George, one of my favorite young players. I mean, he can get you 40 on any given night as well when they turn him loose. Now, he's a bit of a defensive liability because he's kind of small too, but he's an exciting player. I mean, you're right. Utah is like, hey, man, we're all in starting right now. We're not rebuilding. And then I really like Sensabaugh. I like Isaiah Collier. I mean, Utah, they're going to be a really good team next year, I think.
Yeah, I was reading something where, you know, it was like, hey, they had to trade for a big name, Utah, because Utah as a destination is not going to draw a big name free agent. You know, it's just not. It's not a destination spot. And so they had to trade to get their guy in because Jaren Jackson gets big money starting next season. I mean, he's still making big money now, but it moves up from 30-something million to 50-something million. Crazy. But, yeah, that's it. That's a good get. Jaren Jackson, you know, does not rebound the way you would think he does, but you got Markkanen and Kessler, like you said. You got a lot of length right there. And Memphis, it looks like, you know, that you figured they were going to try and move Ja Morant. There must have been they must have not seen a deal that they liked, kind of like the Giannis situation. Boy, have we heard enough about Giannis? I mean, can we hear any more about Giannis? Everything was based on Giannis, and he goes nowhere. He stays there. So it was interesting. It was kind of a wild NBA trade deadline.
It really was. Milwaukee sounds like they just didn't get the offer that they wanted. And supposedly Minnesota was all in on trying to get Giannis. And one of the sticking points may have been Jaden McDaniels because he's a guy they just don't want to give up. I don't know if Milwaukee insisted on him being a part of the package, but Minnesota supposedly was really, really interested in trying to make a deal. And one of the proposed deals I heard was Randall, McDaniels, and Naz Reid for Giannis, which, man, I'm like, that's a lot for Minnesota. I mean, yeah, it's Giannis. Okay, but that's a lot for Minnesota to give up. And ultimately, I think they said, look, we've been to the conference finals the last 2 years. Anthony Edwards reportedly loves playing with McDaniels, who's such a talent. Defensively, he's always been really good, but now he's become an offensive talent more and more so now as well. So they get Ayo Dosunmu from Chicago, and they're going to run it back with what they have. I don't know if Giannis remains in Milwaukee beyond this summer, or if they just try to do the best they can this year and hope somehow he wants to stay. He posted a meme from a movie. He posted a clip from a movie on social media today, and he said, legends don't chase, they attract. Something along those lines, like basically like, hey, you got to come play with me. I'm not going to go somewhere else and, you know, try to chase a ring or whatever. So for now, he remains in Milwaukee, and Doc Rivers and company are going to do the best that they can with him and try to convince him to stay there long term. But we'll see what happens this summer.
Now, do you think he plays the rest of this season? Because, you know, he's been hobbled. He's been hobbled a bit, and if he goes down with anything significant, you lose all your trade value. Milwaukee's not going anywhere. The record's horrible. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see if Giannis is a bystander, a spectator for the rest of this season.
Well, when that calf heals, I mean, why would you play?
Well, you know because if he injures it worse, and then it's like all of a sudden now you're trying to peddle an injured Giannis, 31-year-old Giannis during the offseason, and all of a sudden it's like he's not as hot a property as you'd hope because of the continuing of the injuries.
Yeah, I don't know what the optics are like. If you're paying a guy that much money, he's been medically cleared, and yet you're not playing him. I don't know how you can swing that unless you just lie and say he's not really healthy.
Well, there's a lot of teams that do that. It's called tanking. I mean, I'll be shocked if Jackson plays that much in Utah the rest of this season. You're not going to see Markkanen's already been sitting.
Yeah.
Memphis is in the tank. Utah's in the tank. Why couldn't Milwaukee be in the tank?
I don't know. I just don't. Maybe you can do like a load management type of deal, but I don't think you can just say, "Hey, we're not playing him the rest of the way." I just don't think they can do that without somebody doing something. I don't know if it's a league office kind of deal, or if it's just a public outrage about that. But I don't know if you can just say, "Hey, we're going to tank and not play him the rest of the season." I don't know if you can do that.
Well, they're not going to say that, but they're going to say he's out with injury. A calf not healed. We've seen, I mean, that's just like they're not going to be the first to do that. I mean, you look around and, Utah's perfected it over the last few years.
I'm not sure what the plan is. You know what I mean? If you keep him because you're not getting enough in return, are you saying that we think the return will be better this summer? Or are you saying we're going to try to convince him to stay long term? We'll see.
Right. We started to talk about Boston. So you're on with Cleveland. What do you think about Boston with the new man at center and what they've been doing, especially if they get Tatum back? Are they a threat in the East?
I kind of see Boston like the 49ers. Instead of injuries, well, it's partly injury with Tatum, but then you ship off Porzingis and Drew Holiday. You know what I mean? I think it's a great coaching. You got Joe Mazzulla plays the role of Kyle Shanahan in this, where they're doing things that you didn't think that they could do with what they had on the floor, but they run their system, they do what they do, and they plug in guys who can work in their system, and the system still works. And so Jaylen Brown has been just phenomenal for them, and Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Kata's been good for them down low. I mean, but they still felt like they needed some help there. So look, I think Boston's going to be in the mix in the East, and I think it's commendable, but I think it's going to sort of be like San Francisco. They're going to go a certain distance in the playoffs, and then it's going to be like, okay, well, yeah, you're not really positioned to win the championship. But hey, good job, good effort. I think that's kind of the Celtics season this year. But they're when they're knocking down threes, they can beat anybody.
Yeah. So who do you like? Because Detroit's leading the East right now.
Yeah.
But you've got Cleveland pole vaulting all those teams just based on experience, I would guess. Injury to the Celtics. They don't have the big dog, although Brown has been playing like the big dog, and he was the MVP of the NBA championship last season. And then you got Detroit, which has got Cunningham, who's the second coming. He's so good, but they are a young team that hasn't been on that stage yet, where Cleveland thought they were headed to that stage last season and know the time is probably theirs, time to go, especially now that they got the beard.
I think Detroit, the Knicks, and Cleveland, but I think Cleveland. I mean, the health is going to play a factor in this. It's been a big part of the story all season long with guys getting injured. So we'll see who remains healthy. I mean, no disrespect to Detroit. I got to see him do it. I got to see him do it. At a championship level.
What do you think about AD going to the Wizards?
So I got a buddy who lives in D.C. who's a big Wizards fan. He's like, all right, fine. We got Trae Young, who's a defensive liability, and now we got Anthony Davis, who's always hurt. Like, yeah, they're nice names and everything, but, what did we really get? So look, I think they'll sell tickets. Fans will be at least excited enough to come and see what it looks like, see how it works. They got a lot of young talent with Sarr and Koulibaly and Keyshawn George. So, they got some young guys they could put around them. So, I mean, we'll see. I mean, look, they're relevant again. They got two players people will want to see at least. Two players people recognize who have played at an all-star level, a high all-star level before. So let's see how it works out. Let's see if Trae Young can do for them what he did for Atlanta early in his career. Let's see what Davis still has left and if he can stay on the floor. And then, with how those young guys mature. I mean, they're at least relevant again. They're not like a complete afterthought. What do you think?
Yeah, they got some good young players. They got some good young players, too. I watched them beat the Blazers not that long ago. It's funny, though, because the best player on the Blazers is Denny Avdia, who was a Washington Wizard. And a few nights before the Blazers came back to play Washington, the GM or somebody in the upper management said that they still defended the Avdia trade to Portland. Portland celebrating, but I'm like, how could he? And then he said, well, because Denny didn't. He was older than our time. Like Denny's 24, and was considered too old for Washington. Then they go and trade for Trae Young and for Anthony Davis. So it makes no sense. But then, like Michael Holton, who I do the games with, said, "What do you expect the Washington guy to say? Oh, we screwed up, and we got rid of Denny Avdia, and now he's an all-star." So it'll be interesting. But to your point, Washington's got some relevance because they got two guys, two marquee names in Trae Young and Anthony Davis. And, you just hope AD can get some health and finish his career, on a strong note instead of just kind of injured reserve and never hear from him again.
Yeah, they got some great fans in D.C. who have just been basketball starved since the John Wall, Bradley Beal combination. They haven't really had much to cheer on, and they love basketball. And so we'll see. I mean, if you're the Wizards marketing people, and you can say, hey, we got Trae Young and Anthony Davis, that's at least worth a look, for maybe not season tickets, partial season package,
You say they're basketball starved and went back to Beal and Wall. I'm like they're basketball starved and going back to Elvin Hayes and Wes
Unseld. Yeah. I mean, Beal and Wall, they were exciting. They made the playoffs every year, and they were exciting. I mean, it gave you something. You felt like you were relevant.
Yeah, it came and went in a hurry.
Yeah, exactly.
Were you surprised? What's up with LeBron? What's up with LeBron and the Lakers? What are you reading? What are you hearing?
I saw a really interesting story, and I'm going to see if I can remember it. I meant to bookmark it to talk about this, but there was a scenario where Cleveland could possibly get Giannis and LeBron. By putting together a package deal, and then they trade for Giannis, and then they sign LeBron in the offseason. But, obviously that's not going to happen now. But I saw a story how they could make that work. But it looks like he's gonna give it a go with the Lakers, at least for the rest of this season.
Rest of this season, and then we've said it before. Father Time's undefeated. LeBron is acting like he can beat it. I mean, people are like, oh, he'll go finish his career in Cleveland. Well, that's a good story when Cleveland wasn't a story.
Right.
But now Cleveland's a real deal. It's like we're not inviting LeBron so we can host his retirement party next season. Now if he wants to come back and put on the jersey and play for a day or sign for a day and retire a Cavalier, we're all for that. But I mean, Chris Paul, now that he's in LeBron's league, nobody active is in LeBron's league or has the resume LeBron had. But all good things must come to an end. So it's going to be interesting because it sounds like he's done. His contract runs out. Doesn't sound like he's going to sign back with the Lakers after this season. Doesn't sound like the Lakers want him to come back. And he still can do so many things offensively. Defensively, he can do things when he decides he wants to do them because he's that physically gifted. But his defense is taken a plunge, so to speak.
Well, maybe you bring LeBron James in as a second or third option, and I don't know which team might be interested or see him that way. And then in the fourth quarter, you tell him, hey, man, save as much as you can in the tank for the fourth quarter because we're coming to you in the fourth quarter, and then you unleash him in the fourth quarter. So Lakers have been doing some of that this season, So I don't see a precipitous decline from him yet. I don't see it. Now, I don't know if it's one of those things where like, hey, you get rid of him or let him walk before you see it. But I don't see washed when I look at LeBron right now. I don't. And so I would think until you see that, he's worth a look. He's worth a look. Now, I don't know. You don't want him carrying your team, and you have to have the right other stars on your team who can absorb a LeBron James coming into the orbit and not be thrown off by that, because it's whatever team he goes to, it's a massive story, and it sucks a lot of oxygen out of the room for the guys who are already there, who are the reason why that team is winning if they're winning. So I don't know what the future holds. But with Austin Reeves and Doncic on the floor with LeBron James, Lakers are really, really good. They added Luke Kennard, gives them a little bit more shooting. So they're not an afterthought in the West. I mean, the West is really, really tough. I don't know if they could deal with an Oklahoma City in a 7-game series and win it. I don't know if they can deal with a San Antonio in a 7-game series and win it. Denver, 7-game series and win it. But I mean, if they're healthy and they play any of those teams in a series, I mean, is it crazy to think they could beat them? With Reeves, Doncic, and LeBron James all healthy. Is it crazy to think they could win a 7-game series against anybody else in the West?
Well, if they got to put up 140 a game because they're going to give up 139.
Agreed. Agreed.
Yeah, but I mean, as long as you got one more point than the other team.
If they're healthy, they can score with anybody.
Yeah. Doncic looks in great shape, so Reeves will be hungry coming back from injury.
Yeah, he doesn't have a lot of wear on his legs so far this season.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't count him out, and I think that he's got 4, right? He's got 4. LeBron James, he's got 4 champions, 5 ties him with Kobe Bryant, 1 less than Jordan. I think he's really got his eyes on number 5 before he retires. And so we'll see. And, I saw he may be a package deal with Bronny where, like, if he goes, Bronny goes wherever he goes. So we'll see how that works out.
Make it stop. Call me East Coast says, what else does LeBron have to accomplish? Being able to play with your own son on the same team is like 100% achievements unlocked. Playing a final season in Cleveland, I guess. So yeah, Cleveland makes sense, except unless Cleveland says, no, we're not interested because we're doing our thing. We're not doing his thing.
Yeah. Fans there, though, I mean, I don't know what the organization is like, but I think the fans will be excited for one last run with LeBron in Cleveland. I don't think they're over it, where they're like, no, thanks, but no thanks, LeBron. We've seen this show, and we don't need to see it again. I think they'd be into it. I think they'd be into the farewell tour.
Well, yeah, because they'd say, hey, that jersey I burned before, I bought a new one, so we're all cool now.
Or I saved it just in case, and now I can wear it again.
Yeah. All right, who are the trade deadline winners and losers? I'll say I was surprised that Portland didn't have more action than trading for the sharpshooter from Atlanta for Duop Reith. I thought Portland would make some moves. But it's funny because when you, and I'd be curious if you get this feeling too. And now this is your first year with the Clippers and it's my 5th year with the Blazers. And when I left last week, I thought, wow, when I come back next week, this team is going to be fundamentally different because they're going to make some moves. And that made me sad because I felt like, wow, we're going to have to say goodbye to some of the guys and they're my guys because this is my team.
Right.
And so that kind of weighed on me like, oh, I'm going to miss this guy if he goes and what that must be in the locker room when a guy gets traded and the camaraderie and all that is, you've upset the apple cart a little bit, but it's business. Yeah. So I was surprised Portland didn't make a move, but I was part of me was kind of happy as well. I think the Mavericks got a pretty good haul for AD, given I would say they feel like they're a winner because AD just hasn't been able to play at the level that he wants to or as consistently as he'd hoped.
I think Dallas, they're in a future-oriented situation now. I think when they made the Anthony Davis deal, it was okay. Hey, we're going to win now, with Anthony Davis, and then hasn't really had the impact that they hoped it had, and then Cooper Flag falls into your lap. And his last few games, he's been fantastic. And so I think now they're looking like, hey, okay, we may have to wait a couple years, okay, but this is what we need to do. So let's get rid of Davis, get some assets, and let's build this thing around Cooper Flag because, man, at 19, he's made a very quick adjustment to the NBA, and he looks fantastic. Amazing. But I think Dallas is a short-term loser, long-term winner. I think the Warriors were really, really locked in on trying to get Giannis. Yeah. And they wind up with Kristaps Porzingis, who, is
plays
how much is he going to play?
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, so they lost Buddy Hield. The Kuminga experience comes to an end. So what did the Warriors really get out of this? I mean, I think they were trying to put something together for Steph Curry's swan song, his last 2 or 3 years or whatever it's going to be for him. But now you got, Porzingis, but Jimmy Butler's out for the rest of this season. So it's, I don't know what their thinking is. Maybe they try to make another move for Giannis in the offseason or whatever. But it seemed like the Warriors were hell bent on getting him. They didn't get him. And now I don't know what their situation is, The
great thing about Giannis staying in Milwaukee is that we get to talk about Giannis now all the way through the rest of this season and during the off season.
Right, yeah.
Oh my God, this will be so great. It just makes you want to get into talk television and just go for it. Just like, will he stay or will he go? Oh my. Give me the remote. Right. All right, let's talk the Super Bowl. It's kind of funny, Stan, because I feel like the NBA, listen, the NFL is king.
Absolutely.
Right? No doubt. But this NBA trade deadline, like I heard way more of it than I was hearing anything about the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl was kind of muted this week. And here it is. It's 3 days away and nobody's really talking about it. And I don't know if that's because the matchup isn't quote unquote sexy or because the NBA gathered so much of, ESPN's time, and ESPN is what everybody's looking at when they're looking at what are we talking about? And ESPN looked to me like they were talking more about the NBA than the Super Bowl.
I was listening to Jeff Turner, the Orlando Magic analyst, was talking about this today on Countdown Live, a show I host on FanDuel Sports Network. And he said the reason the trade deadline was so compelling this year and why it got so much interest is because there were big stars who were supposedly on the trading block. And so people were really paying attention because Giannis, top 5 player in the league, where is he going to go? Yeah. How's that going to affect the balance of power? I mean, James Harden, Darius Garland, they're all stars. And so Jeff Turner said, look, when he was playing, the 8 through 12 guys were worried about getting traded because teams were just kind of filling in pieces, but the stars didn't have to worry about anything. He's like, now you had stars on pins and needles, like, hey, will they trade me? Ja Morant, Jared Jackson Jr., who's been an all-star. You had names, Anthony Davis, you had names people recognize switching teams and people who you recognize who may not have necessarily switched teams, but there was a chance that they could. So maybe that's it. And I also heard another discussion somewhere on one of these shows about how the relative star power of the quarterbacks in this year's Super Bowl is not what it is when you have a Patrick Mahomes or a Tom Brady, which we've had for the better part of the last 15 years. So now you got Sam Darnold and Drake May, who are really good players. Drake May is in the MVP conversation, okay? But he's not Tom Brady or Patrick Mahomes. And in the NFL, it starts with the quarterbacks. And so, that's a part of it, I would think. And then, New England has arrived ahead of schedule. Seattle, when you look at what they have on paper, it makes perfect sense. You look at the season that they had, it makes perfect sense that they're in the Super Bowl, but people don't really know them either. Right. If you walk down the street and you ask the average person, who's the starting running back for Seattle in the Super Bowl, they probably won't know. You ask them, who's the starting running back for the Patriots in the Super Bowl? They probably won't know. I would give them credit for probably knowing Drake May and Sam Darnold, but not really knowing a lot about them. With running backs, I don't even think they can name them, you know? So there's not a lot of offensive star power. There's a lot of defensive star power, but again, they aren't household names. You know, they are really solid units, but not household names. So I think it comes down to star power. NBA had star power at the trade deadline. Super Bowl doesn't really have a lot of star power.
Let's break it down. Seattle's offense against the Patriots defense. I think you brought it up earlier, and it's still relevant. If Sam Darnold shows up, the Patriots are in trouble. If Sam Darnold shows up, Seattle's in trouble. I think it really. I mean, if you want to narrow it, obviously that's simplifying it to one sentence. If Sam Darnold's good, Seattle wins. If he's bad, Seattle loses. But there's some truth there. It feels like there's some truth to that.
I went back and looked at Seattle's season. Okay, they lost 3 games. Okay, what do you think the combined point totals were in terms of how many points they lost by in those 3 games combined?
Well, let's see. They lost to the Rams in LA by 1. I'm going to say it was 5 points.
9. 3, I believe it was 9. You double check me, fact check me, but I believe it was 9 when I did it earlier this week. So I mean that's pretty darn close to running the table.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I don't think people realize there were so many good teams, no really great teams is what the narrative was throughout the season. But Seattle was pretty close to being a great team. If you look at 14-3 and you lose by a combined 9 points in your 3 losses. And I think it's their balance. They're balanced on offense, defense, and special teams. They can beat you with any one of the 3, especially with Rashid Shaheed added now as their kick returner. I'm a big fan of Clint Kubiak. I've made that clear on this show more than once. And I think as well as the Patriots defense has been playing, they've been spectacular in the playoffs. I think Kubiak's going to be able to come up with a game plan that allows the Patriots defense, that allows the Seahawks offense to have more of an advantage over New England's defense than New England's offense has over Seattle's defense. Because I think you got a great matchup with Smith and Jigba and Christian Gonzalez on the outside. But Rashid Shaheed, I think, is a great X factor. My only worry about Seattle's offense is if Kenneth Walker somehow gets nicked up or if he's ineffective. They don't have anywhere to go.
Yeah.
At running back. And then you make Darnold one-dimensional, and that's when you could get into trouble. That's when
Bring in Marshawn. Come on.
No, you know what? Marshawn, I saw an ad. Marshawn Lynch is having a Super Bowl party at a bar in Seattle, a watch party in Seattle with his cannabis brand. He's the front man for a cannabis brand.
Kenny Mayne's got to be there too, I think, to add comic relief.
Now that's gonna be a Super Bowl party.
That would be a Super Bowl. Yeah, it would be. You talked about Patriots defense in the 3 playoff games. They allowing 71 yards rushing. Your point, Seattle's only got 1 guy to run the ball. Charbonnet out, 168 yards passing, and an 8.7 points per game. That's New England's defense in the 3 playoff games. The difference, though, is New England has not faced a team this season as good as Seattle. They had the second easiest schedule this season. Somebody wrote that they had the second easiest schedule this century. How they determined that, that's beyond me. Interesting, though, you mentioned Kubiak. The one caveat on Kubiak is he's going to be the Raiders' next coach. And how much of that
the job he's done.
Yeah, but how much of that has taken away from the job he's doing? That's a hard thing to balance. knowing, I guess it's not like college, where college, you got to come out the gate running, and
exactly
recruit, and all that. But Kubiak's got, maybe half an eye on the Raiders. He couldn't, which is only human, that's where he's going after.
He's like, hey, look, get everything ready to draft Mendoza. Okay. That's what we're doing. I'm going to win the Super Bowl, and I'm going to get back to you. Okay. But don't call me until after the Super Bowl.
I'm going to win this Super Bowl, and then Seattle's going to be sold for even more billions because you're buying a Super Bowl champion. That's a great setup for whoever. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
How'd you like to have the Super Bowl champions?
Absolutely. I just think, it's funny. I was talking with the Ducks yesterday about Gonzalez and JSN, and JSN led the league in receiving yards. And the fellas who played with Gonzalez were like, no, Christian Gonzalez is going to lock JSN down.
Ooh.
But they thought Seattle will still win the game because they've just got more weapons. But they were high on Gonzalez being able to lock JSN down. That's going to be a great individual matchup to watch.
Fantastic. I can't wait to see that.
Yeah.
All right, let's flip it now. Patriots offense, Seahawks defense. And the Seahawks defense, now you know you're a good defense when you get a nickname.
Yeah.
And they got the dark side.
Which is a good nickname.
Yeah, I mean, if you're playing defense, hey, we're taking you to the dark side, baby. So, Patriots defense needs a nickname, because like you had, let's go through them back in the day. Purple People Eaters in Minnesota.
Steel Curtain in Pittsburgh.
You had the Doomsday defense in Dallas.
Fearsome Foursome for the Rams.
Merlin Olsen and
Deacon Jones.
Deacon Jones slapping people upside the head with that club he used to have on his arm.
Yeah.
I mean, you get kicked out of the league for that today. Like illegal hands to the face. Deacon Jones is like, I'm doing that every play. How about Orange Crush in Denver with Tom Jackson and those guys?
Randy Gradishar.
Yeah. Who else? Killer Bees in Miami. With who was
But I like Dark Side, man. I like Dark Side.
Seattle had Legion of Boom earlier, the earlier edition of the Seattle defense. And then, hey, the Saints back with Ricky Jackson and Pat Swift, the Dome Patrol. Underrated, both as a defense and as a nickname.
I was talking with Walter Thurman last night, who, of course, was a great defensive back for Seattle. Coming out of the University of Oregon. And he thought this kid, Amanawari, I don't know if I'm saying his name right.
Yeah, Emanwari, Nick Emanwari.
Emanwari, who I understand may now have an injury, but he really thought he was going to be the X factor on that Seattle defense.
Yeah, he's got an ankle sprain. He's got an ankle sprain. They don't think it's going to be much of a problem. Apparently, it happened Wednesday. At practice, but they don't think it's going to be an issue.
What was May's injury? Because I heard he was hobbling around, and then I thought, well, he's still got 10 days until the show.
Yeah, I saw something, but it seemed like it was something trivial enough where I didn't really make a mental note of it. It was kind of like, hey, they need some news.
So Patriots offense against Seattle's defense. Seattle's defense, super fast, mostly go for a 4-man rush, a lot of zone from the other 7. The thing that I noticed in that Denver game that Seattle's going to really have to pay attention to is Drake May. Broken plays. That dude had some legs. He killed Denver at the end of that game with some of his runs, or they may have been designed runs, just disguised well. But that really hurt Denver in the second half of that game. Now, granted, the conditions were horrific with the snow falling, which isn't going to be a problem in Santa Clara.
No. So May says that he's feeling great. It's a shoulder injury, but he says he's feeling great. He says he's not lying. He's like, I'm feeling great. Looking forward to getting out there. Another day of practice. We got one tomorrow and feeling pretty good. So,
all right.
Mike Vrabel says it's not a big deal as well. So I think Seattle's going to pop him a couple of times and, see if he's correct about how great he's feeling. Something to keep an eye on, but I don't think it's anything too major. But I don't think if they can deal with Ramondre Stevenson and Travion Henderson. I'm gonna tell you, Travion Henderson could be an X factor in this game because that dude's a home run hitter. He breaks the line. He could do some damage. So I think he could be an X factor for them. But I think their offense is there ahead of schedule. And I think that'll show, and I think that may be the difference in the game. I think Seattle's defense is going to have more of an advantage against the Patriots' offense than the New England defense has against Seattle's offense. And so, if you told New England at the start of this season, at the end of the season, you're going to be in the Super Bowl and May's going to be an MVP candidate, they'd be, hey, we'll take it. We don't care what happens in the Super Bowl. We'll take it. And so I think they're just going to have to accept that. Hey, the future is 100% bright, just not ready yet.
Yeah, the Patriots have that it factor. I mean, they've won the most regular season games, playoff games, conference championships, and Super Bowl since 2000. I mean, the dynasty. And what's interesting, when that dynasty ended, I was reading up this. This is the fun part about this show is that some of the homework you get to do and some of the stuff you're like, wow, I didn't remember that or I didn't know that. The 2019 wild card game. The Titans beat the Patriots. Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay and becomes a Pirate after that. And Mike Vrabel was the Titans coach that day when the dynasty officially ended for the Patriots. Now the Patriots crash hard. Robert Kraft goes and hires Vrabel. And so you got Vrabel, who's got a couple rings as a player. You got Mike McDonald, who could become the first Super Bowl winning coach to also be the primary defensive play caller. So it's an interesting coaching matchup as well.
Yeah, I think the Tennessee Titans are looking at the situation with Mike Vrabel and realizing they made a mistake. They gave up on him when I don't think it was him as much as it was the organization, the players that he had. They missed with Tannehill. And that was big at quarterback. And so I just think if they had a chance to re-examine that Mike Vrabel might still be there because those Tennessee teams, I mean, again, 2019, there they are in the wild card round against the Patriots. I don't remember them ever being terrible. I mean, I just kind of remember them being, 8-8. 8-9, whatever, and I guess they said, hey, we have bigger aspirations than that. We watch other teams, move quickly. But I think Vrabel is the kind of coach. I think he is, the Mike Tomlin type where you get him and you just let him do his thing. And I think that's going to be the case in New England.
He looks like a football coach. He's got no neck. He's just got a head on shoulders. I mean, he looks like a dude you want, when you're walking in the dark alley, it's like, okay, I'll with my choice, so I'll take Vrabel. He'll go after.
I saw a story that he said he would be willing to cut off his private parts to win a Super Bowl.
Yeah, I've read that too. And that,
I wouldn't go that far.
No.
I have no idea what it feels like to win a Super Bowl. And didn't he already win as a player?
Yeah. So, yeah. He's won 2 as a player.
Okay. So, hey, man.
Yeah.
I'm sure it felt really, really good. I'm sure it felt really, really good to win twice. But you've already done it twice.
Yeah. So, please don't do that.
That's a bit much. That's a bit much.
All right, who do you got? Who everybody's on Seattle, which that concerns me because when everybody's on one team, I'll say I'm rooting for Seattle not only because I grew up in the state of Washington, but I spent 9 years in New England. I got Patrioted out, I got Red Soxed out, I got Bruined out,
Yankeed out.
I got Celtics out. Yeah, just
Jets out.
I'd never been around a group of people who were so rabid about their teams, and that I found very interesting and very cool. That that it meant that much for Seth Markman to be a Jets fan, and it meant that much for John Totten to be a Red Sox fan, and I thought that was cool that
these are really producers at ESPN that Neil's naming.
Yeah, and like Stan was into the Saints. Well, I grew up, we didn't have a team, and then I lived in Hawaii, and it was like, you don't have a team. You're not going to a game. So I really enjoyed that part of it, but it became a little you became inundated with the Sox and all that, and it's just like, oh God.
The one that used to kill me, was the Jets, because like the Jets pretty much were terrible. Most of the time they were ESPN, but they would always find their way into the NFL coverage. I mean, they had the little blip on the screen with Rex Ryan when he was there, and let's go eat a snack and all that, when they were AFC champions or went to the AFC championship. But for the most part, they were pretty bad. But somehow the Jets would always be a part of the conversation.
Yeah,
but New Yorkers think. I remember hearing Max Kellerman talking about being a New York fan. Like, they believe we should have the best team in everything. We should win in everything. Like, everything should be like the Yankees. We should have 27 championships because we're New York City. I'm like, well, no, that's not how it works. I mean, that's how it works for people in New York City, but that's not, the rest of the country doesn't care, And that was one of the things that I always loved about New Orleans, is that, like, hey, we're just little New Orleans here, small town disguised as a big city, or a big city disguised as a small town, and people come down here to eat and, go to Mardi Gras and everything, But hey, man, we're not New York City. We're not San Francisco or, But hey, come Sunday, you got a team and we got a team. And doesn't matter how big your city is. Let's get on the field and let's find out.
Yeah.
And so I always got a big kick out of that,
I always tell people one of my greatest moments at SportsCenter was when the Saints won the Super Bowl, and I saw the joy that it brought you, and I just was like, wow, that is so cool to be that invested and to feel something that powerful. So I bought a Saints hat to be part of it. Like, hey, I got my Saints hat. I saw a guy on the train the other day with the Saints hat, and I walked by him and I go, who dat? Because I learned that from you.
There you go. Hey, I was at the Clippers game the other night. Guy was like, hey, man, oh, man, dude, I watch you every night, man. I got to take a picture with you. Okay, cool, man. Stan Everett, man, you're my favorite, dude.
It never gets old. Never gets old.
Never, ever.
All right, we got to wrap it. Who get the NFL award? Who's going to get the MVP tonight? I guess the NFL award. 100%. If you had to, Drake May, if it came down, you had one game, you wanted one guy to be your quarterback, would you pick Drake May or Matthew Stafford? You'd pick Stafford, and he had the numbers to go with it as well.
Except that game against Carolina, but other than that, I'd pick.
Well, yeah.
He had that one game, but no. Look, there are people saying, "Oh, it's not a career achievement award." Blah blah. Shut up. The guy had a fantastic season. Fantastic.
He did. Offensive MVP and defensive MVP.
Now, I'm gonna go with Puka Nacua as offensive player of the year.
Oh, that's a good. Yeah, he caught everything.
Yeah, and then played running back MVP, once he caught it.
Defensive MVP Myles Garrett.
Yeah,
gotta be right.
It's gotta be. Yeah. Speaking of which, have you seen Todd Monken, the Cleveland coach?
Seeing a picture of him, or
no? The issue with Jim Schwartz.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Like Jim Schwartz is butthurt.
Yeah. No. So then Todd Monken. So Todd Monken came out at a news conference and he said, "Hey, when we were playing Cleveland and we were rolling the protections, we weren't rolling the protections against Jim Schwartz. We were rolling the protections against Myles Garrett." And basically, kind of saying, "Hey, Schwartz, you're not all you think you are." So it seems like that's completely broken. That whole situation is broken.
Wow.
And I don't know if they can fix it.
Wow, that's not. I don't know if how smart that was, but hey,
it's the Browns.
Monken's team. Yeah, great point. Robert Kraft got snubbed too. So Belichick and Kraft are sitting in the corner while the NFL Hall of Fame goes about its business. Weird.
Yeah, and it led to one of the most ridiculous questions I've ever seen. Does this mean that Tom Brady will get snubbed when I'm like, come on. Really? Do you really think Tom Brady's not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer because of Kraft? I mean, I think it's the category and the rules for the category and all that sort of stuff that affected Belichick and Kraft, but that's not going to apply to Tom Brady. If you don't put Tom Brady in as a first ballot Hall of Famer, you should close the Hall of Fame. Period. Just 100%. Close it. Same thing, Drew Brees tonight, baby. Drew Brees is going in first ballot. Gotta be. Gotta be, right? Come on.
There's gonna be hell to pay.
Brees has
got him as one of the top 5 Oh yeah, he's going in first.
Okay, all right. Okay, I was about to say you're not going to make Pickles' appointment because we got to talk about it.
Oh no, I think Breeze is.
No, he's going in tonight.
All right, before we go, first of all, we let people know we're going to be talking the Super Bowl on Tuesday at 4:00, not Wednesday. We want to do it while it's still hot and fresh. So Tuesday next week, 4:00, talking about the Super Bowl. Before we go, what do we got, Jeff? You got anything from the bunker?
How's it? One quick thing.
Look at Jeff. Look at him in the underground. He's in an underground bunker, people. Okay.
All right.
He's got all his rations down there and everything. You know.
We'll be quick for you, Neil. One betting note
what do we got?
Here, okay? I want you guys to listen.
Yeah.
You can get plus 900 if she says yes. Listen to this real quick.
Stefon, I have a question. Stefon, I have a question. After you get your ring, is Cardi getting her ring? Proposal?
It's on the agenda, maybe, right? I gotta get mine first.
You're getting it. You're gonna win. Stefon,
plus 900 if Cardi says yes. That was on
plus
Reddit.
900 if she says yes.
That was on Reddit, so you gotta believe it, right?
First of all, I don't think Stefon's getting his ring. And then after you lose, are you in any mood to propose at that point?
Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't know enough about that relationship except that Stefon is dated more than just Cardi B. I read that.
And Cardi B has dated more than just Stefon. So
yeah, so I don't know how tight they are.
It's a pick 'em there. It's a wash there.
Plus 900 if she says yes. Listen, it's a value bet. Doug Kazarian would say it's a value bet, I think. You know.
And I would imagine that Stefon Diggs has enough experience in life to know you don't ask a question that you don't already know the answer to when it's a question that important. So I don't think he's gonna ask if there's any chance that there's a no.
Well, you never know. Coach D's ready.
All right. Neil's got to go
Coach
get
D,
Pickles
hit
to the vet.
We'll see you. We'll see you Tuesday, everybody. Talking about the Super Bowl. Go Seahawks.
Let's go. How's it? Do you know what time it is? Let's go. The Stan and Neil Show. 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 With Stan. Oh, Stan. He's the man. And who's Stan's biggest fan? Well, it's Neil. And Neil, he keeps it real. And that's why Neil's the deal. Stan and Neil back together again. Spreading the love with all their old friends. Let's go! Stan and Neil back together for you. Keeping it cool, 'cause clothes are raw. The Stan and Neil Show. 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 The Stan and Neil Show.
Yeah. All right, let me hear it all back. See what we got so far.
So, shout out to Coach D for the jingle, the Stan and Neil jingle.